Okay. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Can you hear me? Do I get some microphone support here? Yes, I do. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Fernando Vicario, and on behalf of Bank of America Merrill Lynch, we would like to welcome you to this evening's event of Street League. I'm particularly pleased to be here because I've personal experience, in fact, very personal, positive experience in having been in a few events with Street League partners. Now, for Bank of America Merrill Lynch, this is not just a partnership to support financially, but what I find to be much more attractive is to support with volunteer work. In my team, I mentioned I run corporate banking for EMEA. We have a number of corporate bankers that have been constantly present in a number of Street League events. And to be frank, I tell my clients about my experience when I have actually joined Street League partners and actually got to see a number of young, enthusiastic people. The other part of the equation is we are very happy to be a supporter of Street League because this is not only good for the young people that get employed, but it's also good for their families and for our communities. And we, in banking, we care. And we care because future employment depends on how you all do. I'm referring obviously to the Street League participants that got some employment. Now, this tonight is about Street League and certainly not Bank of America Merrill Lynch. We're delighted that you are in our premises, but the spotlight should go to Street League, and therefore I'm delighted to actually introduce you to the chairman of the trustees, Mike Parker, and to the trustee, Leslie Giddens. With no further ado, I hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Much, Fernando, and thank you very much for coming. It's just great to see you all here. Very much appreciated. Just before I go any further, I just really wanted to thank Bank of America Merrill Lynch for making their facilities available for us tonight. So thank you very much for that, Fernando. And also, I mean, I should mention, Fernando didn't comment on the years that they've been involved with us, but 5 years, or getting on for 5 years now, we've had a real significant relationship with Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And of course, with quite a lot of you, I see some quite familiar faces in the room. So there's a lot of people out there too who are representing organizations that we fortunately had a lot of support from. So thank you very much indeed for that. Now, as the chairman of Street League, I just wanted to just make a few macro comments. I've been working with Matt here. Matt's been the CEO, this tall guy here, for 8 years, and I've been working with Matt for 7 years as his chairman, and it's been an absolute privilege to actually work with him, but I'll comment about Matt a little later on in the proceedings. But what I did want to say was that he and I together, and it has been a teamwork, me working with the board and Matt with the management, to actually sort of go on this journey of what I would describe it as making Street League bigger, but also better. And it's the better that I particularly want to focus on tonight in the context of our journey and what we've been trying to do. And that's heavily been around when we've been talking about getting better, is actually, although we've grown from 2 cities to 14 locations, and from 23 people back 7 years ago to say around 150 now, the key has been how to control that growth so that the quality of what we're doing only gets better as we go along. And we all know, those of us who've grown organizations, it's actually often quite easy to grow. The key is actually how to do that and get better at the same time. So I must say, I'm very proud to say that anything I've seen, that has absolutely been the journey that we've been on. And that's all down to the management here, led by Matt, but with the rest of the senior management team and the whole organization that has been on that journey as we've gone forward. So with that said, I wanted to just actually introduce Leslie here, who's actually been with us about a year as a trustee of Street League. And I wanted to ask you, Leslie, how have you found Street League in this 12 months since you're coming on board? And just maybe give a little bit of a picture of your background so folks can get a good context there.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I've been with Street League for about 12 months now, and I have to say it's a bit strange in some ways, because that means I've been to 4 or 5 meetings, which I work in management consultancy, and you've usually done 4 or 5 meetings in your first morning on any new job, so it is quite strange that this is actually spread over a year. I've found it absolutely amazing, actually. I've loved every minute of it, I have to say. I thought it might be saying what attracted me to Street League in the first place. I work in regeneration, I work in employability, done a lot of work with young people. I'm really a serious football fan, although this is a very long story, but anyone who knows anything about Blackpool would know you don't say serious and Blackpool Football Club in the same sentence, but that's a much longer conversation. And I also really like dance. So for me, I fundamentally get why young people can be attracted into programmes that bring football and bring dance and then actually do other things with them, and I think Street League does this in a really good way. But what I really look for in an organisation when starting to work with an organisation, the one that makes me feel good is one that mixes competency and caring. And I think you really need both those things. And to quote my grandson, who used this word a lot, I think Street League are super at competency, really are super competent people, I have to say. That's been my experience. And really care about young people. I think they bring programmes that young people want rather than programmes that people in London might think people want, which I think is not always the same thing. And that's been my main experience. I've loved every minute of it, I have to say, and I think it's such a good organisation. With regard to the annual report, it's actually interesting as well. I'd commend you all to read it, because you don't often say that about annual reports. I'm sorry to any businesses here, but it doesn't always strike you like that. So, yeah.
I think that's absolutely right. In fact, when Matt and I started working together, he won't mind me saying this, you know, we'd have our regular annual report and Matt would send it out to me as the chair and sort of say, Mike, could you sort of take a look at this and would you care to make any comments? And when I looked at it at the beginning and, you know, I'd say to Matt, you know, Matt, I think we need 2 or 3 hours together, right? So I would sit with him for 2 or 3 hours and we'd go through the annual report and what have you, and that happened the second year, about the same thing, and then Matt suddenly decided, I'm not going to be doing it like this anymore. We're definitely going to change the format, and from then on, we have really, and Matt has done that with the team, really made our annual report a key part of our journey here in terms of demonstrating and wanting to demonstrate transparency on the one side and how we measure things on the other. So it really has been that sort of a journey that we've gotten that Leslie's commenting on. So thank you very much for that. Now, I think we're sort of getting up to the time where we're going to introduce some young people here. So I'll just hand this over to you, Leslie.
Yeah, I'm going to hand you over to what I think will possibly be the most inspiring bit of the evening, which it usually is when you hear young people talk about their own experiences. So I know we're going to have a conversation now, and the host is Chris Davis, who's the aftercare coordinator for London. And Chris is going to be speaking to David, that's 2 Davids, Lauren, Amy and Lerone.
Yeah. Well, Leslie was talking about me when she said conversations with young people. So tonight we've invited 5 Street League participants, varying times on the programme. Some very new to the programme, and some have been we've known for over a year now. Just to give you a bit more insight into their experiences, and yeah, what they've enjoyed, and what's been a challenge at Street League as well. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy the conversation. Amy, would you like a microphone? Yeah. All right. So they have got a couple illegally, just so you know. Amy,
Yes.
can you tell us a bit about your journey with Street League?
So I became part of Street League about 5 months ago. I was looking for an apprenticeship in water sports and I just couldn't find any. So I went to a meeting in my local area where all colleges and people were there to offer you places. And I met Liberty, who is part of Street League. So she kind of told me a bit about Street League, what you guys do. And then after she kind of told me a bit about like all the sports and stuff that you guys are involved with. So I was really happy because I'm a sports person. So I started to then I started to research Street League online, and I started to like go online and really like research what you guys are about, what kind of football you do, and like what kind of sports your main goal is. So then I met, and then I joined up with Street League the beginning of September, and then I went to South Hub and I met Soraya and all the other members, and then I told him what my interest was, and then Jack was looking online for me for an apprenticeship, and I found one. I'm starting next week in water sports, and I've also been able to create a CV as well, which I've never had, and also I've also been able to improve my football skills because I have cerebral palsy, which is a physical disability, and I've never been able to play football. But then being part of Street League, they've been giving me the opportunity to like improve my football skills, and instead of that, they haven't been like judgmental or discriminative. They've been like really accepting. So I thank Street League for like giving opportunity, getting better at something which I want to improve. But yeah, I mean, I got involved 5 months ago, and I've really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, so I joined Street League maybe over a year ago. Funny enough, I joined them when I was 17. I'm 24 now. And I joined them and I ended up getting into work. And then I left for a long time, and then I was out of work. Saw these guys while I was volunteering for a charity doing gliding, and I was like, oh wow, Street League's still about. And I was out of work, so I was like, okay, I actually enjoyed it, and I got in contact with you guys, joined up, and like at that moment in time, like I was really down because I couldn't get a job. I didn't know how to take the first steps, and these guys just managed to put me in every right direction. And now, funny enough, I work here doing landscaping. So Street League provides, well, Bank of America do like work experiences for people for Street League, and I heard about the opportunity and I jumped at it straight away, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And you guys pushed me, of course, like you always do. And yeah, I did my 1 week work experience, and they loved me that much that they offered me a job straight away in February.
I knew about Straight League in 2010. Like I didn't actually manage to do any GCSEs, many of them. I went to like university college just to do my English, maths, science because like I moved to Devon and come back, and obviously because it's halfway through year 11, like, and obviously my dad passed when I was younger. When we come back, they wouldn't let me redo any of my GCSEs because it was too late. So that's how I heard about Street League, and so I went along, I got on with everyone, and I actually know Matt, who I've met for about 11 years, is probably ago we met. I managed to, basically boost my confidence and stuff like that. We actually, like, I was actually quite lucky to be a part of it, because, like, I've always loved football and stuff like that, and I'm quite, so basically, that happened, and then, cut a long story short, I didn't carry on. I had my first child when I was 19. He's now 6. And then basically I moved to Devon, come back. When I come back, I was like, I can't just sit at home anymore. My son started school, my daughter. Obviously, I'm a single mum and I live with my mum. So I was like, I'm going to ring Street League, see if they're still about. And luckily there was. So yeah, so I rang up, got involved, and then went to every tournament, every like job thing they done. I just literally tried my best because I wanted something, like I wanted to get somewhere. So, and they helped me. So yeah, they've really given me a lot. And also, like, I can now do my driving. Doing my driving soon. So yeah, and my kids are going on holiday as well. So yeah, it's all good. Like it's really helped me, and as a person, I feel better. Like as well. Like I'm showing my kids a future, like how life is, isn't it? So it's good. It makes me feel proud. So yeah, thanks.
David refuses to take this off.
You know,
your journey with Street League.
my journey started in 2017, September the 7th. I remember that day because I just finished college and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know like what was next. Like everyone had an idea in college. I was like, oh, that's them. But I wanted to do something more physical because I loved sports. I love that's what always drove me forward. And one day my social worker told me about Street League, and I was just like, what's Street League? And she showed me what it was and how they will help me to articulate myself, do CVs, and potentially get into work. And throughout the journey, I remember the first job I got with Street League was being a steward, and I liked it, but I felt like I needed to do more, like to understand myself, to do something with my body because I love sports. I love the football we do, especially the dancing. Not many of the guys like it, but I'm always there trying to cheer them on because dancing is just life for me. And a program came up, I remember a few months ago, called with DHL, which I couldn't even believe. And I was just like, wow, being in the warehouse and actually doing something that I could do with my body. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And ever since that apprenticeship came up, my life changed in a way I never felt like before. Even talking about it right now, it's hard because I just feel like, honestly, I'm a truthful guy. I feel like crying because I remember after the 3 weeks training, my boss, Tony Amos, came up to me and told me to come to his office, and he gave me the job. And that moment, I started to cry because I couldn't believe I personally could get a job and do something with my life. And I feel like Street League has really helped me go forward to do that and strive to do things forward. And I just thank Street League and DHL so much for it. Thank you.
I started Street League about 2 years ago. And before Street League, I didn't have any confidence in terms of professional skills, going for interviews, CV, anything. So while I was at Street League, I did enjoy the dance and football sessions and everything. But what what was I gonna say? Yeah.
What was it that kept you at Street League? Why did you keep coming back?
I just kept thinking that I'm growing a lot professionally. I felt more confident, going to interviews and stuff, and the placements that we did. I learned a lot from it, especially I did the one at Bank of America as well. Also, before, I was so nervous before going to interviews and everything. I was always dreading it and stuff, but now I'm just so it's another interview. I know what to do now. I know how I should prepare and everything, journey, everything, clothes the night before, everything that you taught me, keep eye contact, which is sometimes hard for me. And don't be don't be so nervous that you don't know what to say and everything. So just make sure you prepare and everything. So I learnt a lot. And then in November last year, Street League helped me get a traineeship in business admin in Elephant and Castle through another charity. And I did that for 6 months, but it got extended for about 2 months. And now I'm doing a barista training course in Langdon Park. And I just really want to say thank you for that, because if it wasn't for Street League, I just wouldn't have any sort of confidence, nothing at all. So, yeah, that's me.
I'd be really interested in hearing what you would say to somebody who's thinking about joining Street League, maybe not sure whether it's right for them. What would you say to them?
I would give them the best advice because they've really helped me. I told my friends to go to Street League because they're not doing anything, and they're like, oh, it won't help me because I want to do something that no one's ever helped me with before. And I'm just like, yeah, it'll actually help you because I've got an apprenticeship, and they live not far from the actual, they don't live far from the South Hub, so it would be really convenient more than me because I take train. But I would anyone that I see, or one of my friends and stuff, like if you wasn't in work or if you didn't have anything to do, I would really recommend something like Street League, because like it's helped me, and it's not like I was a child that wasn't going to school and stuff. Like I didn't want to go back to college because like college just weren't for me, like the environment, and like I'm 18, so I want to start earning my own money. So like so I thought to myself, like, at the end of this academic year, like July, I thought to myself, like, September, maybe I'll go back to college, maybe I won't. But I just wanted to change, because as well as, like, not actually being in college, I didn't like it. But all the people that I was mixing with weren't good influences on me. And they weren't positive people. So I was like, I'm not going back to that because I can do better. So then, like, for me, like, going to Street League and actually finding something, an apprenticeship, they've helped me to find a personal trainer in like disability, so like he can train me. But if I wasn't part of like Street League, then that would never have happened, because like not a lot of people nowadays are like willing or able to help you like to find anything. Like your mum and dad are just like, oh, go to school. Like if you don't go to school, I'm not talking to you again. And my dad is very strict, so he's like, I didn't actually tell him first about the apprenticeship because like he didn't know that I was going to do it, and he thought I was going to go back to college. And I was like to him, but I don't want to go back to college because like I want to do something different. And obviously water sports is different because I've never done it before, but it's a good different. And all part of Street League, like they've given me tips and stuff. And I would always want to like recommend Street League to somebody, because like if it helped me, it can help you. And whatever you want to do, like I told Soraya that I wanted to be a disability sports coach. And she was like to me, oh really? You're really passionate about it? I was like, yeah. And then when we played football, I was finding it quite difficult because of my disability. And she was like, no, Amy, just like take your time, don't rush. And it really made me feel accepted. And like that has really like my confidence has grown. And I feel like if you're in the street, because there's so many people around where I live that are on the street doing nothing. So if I ever like see them, I'll be like, there's a charity called Street League, and they're based in like central London, and they're really good with helping people for work. And if I found it beneficial, then anyone, I mean, I had to like travel, it's not where I live. So I think the best things for you to look at, like if you want to do something like Street League, I think the best thing is if you travel, because they're not going to be right outside your door. And if you don't like travel, then you're not going to find anything good. And I think, you know what, all of my friends, I've already told them to come, but they're like, no, they won't come in. And I will literally drag them here if they don't come. But it's really benefited me, and I thank God, I thank Street League for helping me, because to be honest, if it wasn't for Street League, I wouldn't be able to get an apprenticeship. I wouldn't be able to even create a CV, something which I never had. Not a lot of people are able or willing to even help me with stuff like that. And it's great that a charity so big is like really important, so thank you.
I just think like a lot of like no one knows obviously like how everyone is, like everyone's their own mind, like, but I think it benefits everyone, and it gives you encouragement and hope, like, because obviously sometimes it's very easy just to not do nothing, but obviously some people like that and some people are more driven. You've just got to be driven and be positive and go to everything that Street League. I literally, like, I miss the football now, but obviously I'm so busy, I'm working, I've got young children, but it gives me like all the confidence I needed, because like it is. It's all about trying and trying not to be like, I'm shy, like you can probably tell by how I'm talking, but it's helped me a lot, and it's helped me with people, and I'm like talking to people, just even like with everything really. Like if it weren't for Street League, I'd just be sat at home bored, like trying to bring up children, depressed probably, like, so like, and yeah, they've literally changed my life completely.
The one thing I'd say about Street League, like, that I think everyone should remember is like not just in all the photos, but like together we're always like as a community, like we all come together as one. Like if you ever came to Street League one day, I guarantee you feel like you've been there for like 10 years probably, because you know that you're gonna feel comfortable with all the people around you. And I think that's the most important thing, to feel comfortable and come to Street League.
Thank you. Cheers. I think, yeah, we're really grateful for your time and your conversation. I'd really encourage everyone here to grab some time with any of these guys, or there's another 4 or 5 we'll talk to you about in the audience. So do interact with them and do converse with them. They've got some incredible stories. Yeah, so I'm right now.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for chairing that session. I think it speaks for itself, what you just heard. But thank you to the two Davids, and to Lerone, and to Lauren, and to Amy, for being willing to share with us as much as you were willing to share there. That was just absolutely wonderful, so thank you. Just want to introduce Matt now, CEO of Street League. As I mentioned earlier, he's been the CEO of Street League for 8 years. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with Matt. He's, if I could say it like this, and I think it's a really good thing, he's really ambitious for whatever he's responsible for. That is his natural demeanor and what have you. But I mean ambitious in the best way. I mean, his whole journey and background has been in the whole area of social care in one form or another. He has a social science degree, and then I did an MBA a little later on. But he's been operating in these related spaces for the whole of his, should we say, management career. And he's grown enormously, I'm sure, over that. He's not going to get into that with you now, but I just wanted to really describe that. It's been an absolute pleasure to see that growth in him and in the senior management team and in Street League over these 7 years. I've had the privilege of working with him. And quite frankly, it is a major highlight in my personal journey and in my career to actually have been able to be the chair of Street League for these 7 years. So I'll hand it over to Matt, and he's going to give you some insights into our annual report and everything else that goes with it. Okay, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. So, good evening. I'm Matt Stevenson-Dodd. I'm the Chief Executive of Street League. Weren't the young people amazing? I was just really, really struck by just the way they talk, you know, and I go out and look at this a lot. You know, I'm very privileged to be able to meet young people like we've just seen tonight all the time. And you just see the same thing. Again, you know, stories of difficult circumstances, difficult starts, but just a real positivity. And I think, you know, the power of sport to take young people on that journey is just absolutely incredible. And we've just witnessed that tonight. So I wanted to talk about the Street League annual report this year. We've been on quite a journey as an organisation. As Mike was saying, you know, we've been getting bigger and better. And certainly in the last couple of years, we've really focused on the getting better bit. And I think that's what makes the difference. You know, actually having amazing staff like Chris and like, you know, the 150 other staff who work for Street League, they're all dedicated to supporting young people in the situations. And you heard the varied situations that were there. They respond in that way. And we don't prescribe from the head office how they should do that. They just do that because they're brilliant. So over the last few years, you'll know we've been really trying to promote transparency and to talk about what we didn't get right as well as what we did. I really strongly believe that the work we're doing as Street League and that other charities are doing should be difficult. We should be taking chances. We should be taking risks. We should be welcoming young people who might not get through the programme, but we should be taking that risk. And in doing so, we won't always get things right. And I think we've got to be honest about that as a charity sector. Rather than saying we're always 100% successful, let's talk about what we didn't get right. So we've gone further this year. We decided with the annual report that we would go digital, go 100% digital. I think we just produced 2 really nice glossy brochures, but they don't come alive. And so we wanted to bring videos really into this and allow people to sort of explore links and look at things. So I'm going to take you through the annual report. I'm going to show you a couple of the videos that are in there, and then we'll talk about our impact dashboard. So the first video that I want to show you, and this is the annual report here online, and this opens with the chair and CEO summary. The theme of the report this year is conversations. So Mike and I had a sort of 5-minute sit down and talk about it, and this is a 2-minute summary. So we play this video. Hi, I'm Matt Stevenson-Dodd, I'm Chief Executive of Street League, and this is Mike Parker, our Chair. Thanks very much for visiting our website. This is the first time we've ever done an online annual report, and the theme of the report this year is about conversations. So Mike and I are going to have a conversation about the year that's just gone. It's been quite a year. We even had a visit from the Prime Minister. So Mike, what are your reflections?
Well, I mean, I just feel very, very good about the whole journey of Street League, as I've worked with you over these last 7 years and just trying to make more impact on our young people. And it's just been an absolute privilege to be a part of it.
Yeah, 1,656 young people into work, education and training this year. It's up 6% on last year. Most importantly, 61% of those getting jobs are still in jobs at 6 months. It's a real achievement. But we've also done a lot on transparency in recent years. I think it's really important to say that there were 231 young people who came to Street League during the year and they weren't able to get an outcome.
I completely agree with that, and I think the whole subject within the context of transparency, measurement, our drive to measure and measure in an accurate way and a clear way has really been absolutely spot on. I think though, on top of all that, and obviously it's always about our young people, we've really had to grow in terms of our financing capability, and this has been a challenging environment in which we've been operating on for the whole 7 years actually, but certainly getting even more challenging over the last couple of years, I'd say.
Yeah, it's always been quite a balance, hasn't it really, just to try and get that social impact and grow. And I know we tried to grow our reserves even more this year and we weren't as successful as we wanted to be, but you sort of think actually some of our funders have been with us for more than 10 years. Comic Relief, State Street, Inspiring Scotland. It's been really brilliant support. There's a longer version online in the annual report that you can watch, which goes through the whole year. Just scrolling down through the programme, we then have our financial summary. And it was a good year for Street League, so 6 million income, and we spent just short of 6 million. We made a £61,000 surplus. It's been quite a tough environment for charities this last year, and I think in particular our fundraising team have done a tremendous job. And also in terms of delivering public sector contracts. Going on further, we then have a summary of our impact, and this is the snapshot of the year from April 2017 to March 2018. And as we said in the video, you can see here we talk about the 231 young people who disengaged up front, and this is really us talking about, you know, what we didn't get right. We think it's really important. There's a sort of statistics on why they disengaged. The next part of the report then talks about the year in month-by-month basis. So we go backwards through the year from March 2018 right back till April. And in this top corner, we've put a counter that shows how many outcomes we got cumulatively up until that month. So this will count down. So in March, we had a visit from the Prime Minister, who chose Street League to launch the response to the race disparity audit. If you're black in this country and you're a young person, you're twice as likely to be unemployed as a white young person. And so the Prime Minister chose Street League to come because at Street League, you have an equal chance. And we've looked at our data, and whether you're black or white, you still have the equal chance, male or female, to get a job, an outcome at Street League. So going on through the report, we come to to December, and this was the anniversary of our 10-year partnership with Inspiring Scotland. So we've had partnerships that have lasted more than 10 years this year with Comic Relief, State Street Bank and Inspiring Scotland. I know Duncan's come down from Scotland, our investment director from Inspiring Scotland. It's really good to welcome you to the event tonight. But I wanted to just play a short 2-minute video just talking about the power of a 10-year working relationship and just what that can achieve.
Inspiring Scotland was set up in 2008 with very specific aims, and that was over a 10-year period to engage 56,000 young people not in employment, education or training and get them into positive destinations, 35,000 of them into positive destinations by year 10. Street League have helped enormously. I think one of the major attractions of Street League right from the early days was the fact that it was based around football, which is an excellent hook to get young people who are not particularly engaged into a programme. The other thing is it became immediately clear that the programmes surrounding the football really worked in terms of delivering young people into education, employment and training.
Over the last decade, Street League has received investment of just over £5 million, and in those 10 years we have moved nearly 5,000 young people into work, education and training.
It's been tremendously successful. I mean, right from the early days, it was clear to us that Street League had a team of people that we could work with. I think one of the most important aspects of any partnership is honesty. And clearly, not every innovation is actually going to deliver results. Street League have always been open and honest about what's worked, what hasn't worked so well, so that we've been able to work together to come up with any solutions to problems.
Inspiring Scotland have been central to Street League's growth in Scotland. So moving from 4 local authorities in 2008 to 16 today, we've had measured, demonstrable growth which is underpinned by their investment. And their investment is key to Street League in that we use their money to underpin our services to engage in contracted delivery with local authorities across the country. The successful delivery of those contracts then in turn replaces their investment, which allows Street League to be sustainable, reaching more young people across the country.
I think the 10-year period's been important because actually that's long-term funding and you're able to form relationships, so it's quite difficult on a 2 or 3 year grant basis. But again, that's down to people and the fact that we work together as a team, both the Inspiring Scotland team and Street League, to ensure that actually we do deliver the best results.
Thank you, Duncan. You can see that, as Duncan said, honesty is a really important part of that 10-year relationship, and trust is something we've really tried to sort of build through being open and being transparent, and we think that's really helped, and the long-term funding is very much appreciated. So the final video that I just wanted to play, if we scroll down, is about our team. And as I was saying before, we employ absolutely brilliant people on the front line who have to deal with a huge range of situations and have to respond to those situations. And I go out and visit, and I've witnessed a lot more young people coming with mental health issues, a lot more difficult barriers to deal with. And just the response of the staff has been tremendous. So I just wanted to leave this section with this video on our team.
Street League's the most wonderful organisation. Obviously, it's focused on making a difference to young people, ending youth unemployment, but really it's the passion of the people that are part of Street League, which is the reason why I'm so energised to be part of the team. I've been here for 8 years and I still enjoy coming into work every day. I never have a day where I don't feel like coming to work that day. So it's really the people that we're employing. We've seen people come and go at Street League, but we've always still managed to get people that really enjoy being here and are really passionate.
I started in 2010 as a progressions coordinator, promoted to senior progressions coordinator and then on to operations manager, covering 3 local authorities. And latterly I've moved into head of contracts and quality. We're always looking to improve, taking feedback from the front line, what our participants' experiences are, what our staff experiences are, staff development days, conferences, getting everybody together with a vision to improve what we do, to change the lives of young people. Everyone I meet within the organisation seems to be driven by a belief that they can make a difference to young people, and it's wonderful to be part of the team.
The staff conference comes round every 2 to 3 years. It's a huge event in which all the staff are invited along. We have workshops where we can provide information, showcase best practice in football, dance fitness, progressions work. But it's really a celebration of the work that the staff have been involved in and looking at what we're going to be doing going forward. Street League's a fantastic place to work. It's been a massive part of my life for 8 years. I'm still here, and that's testament to the people and the work that we do. I've seen firsthand over many years the power of sport to change lives, and I don't think there's an organisation or charity out there that is as good as Street League at really making a difference. And so I'm delighted to be part of the Street League journey.
So that's our 2017-18 annual report. I'd really like you to share that with lots of people, really to share the power of sport to change lives and to really make a difference in terms of impact. One of the things we do internally in Street League is an online video conference with all our staff, because we're all over the place, 39 local communities, 14 cities. And part of that, we do something called Ask Matt, where staff can post anonymous questions online and I'll answer them live on the video broadcast. It can get quite hairy, I can tell you. But it's a great way of anybody in the organisation being able to transparently ask the chief exec of the organisation a question, and I will answer them. It might not be the answer they want, but we'll do that. So we thought in the spirit of that, we'd ask if you had any questions on the annual report. No? Martin.
Matt, I wondered whether you engage volunteers in the work at all, and if you do, what contribution they make to changing the outcomes for young people.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we do. We tend to really engage volunteers from our corporate supporters. So you're hearing from Fernando before about being involved, and that's very much sort of the spirit of what we want, because we think people in the corporate world have great skills that are transferable, whether that's helping a young person develop their CV or get them ready for an interview, or give them the feedback on how you walk in the door and smile and make eye contact, and the things you're hearing from the young people. I think then those relationships form, and you find, like David was saying, he got a job, doing the landscape gardening here. It's a tremendous story, and I think that only comes from relationships where young people can go, work experience placements that we can get through those partnerships. So yeah, I think volunteers are absolutely essential for what we've done alongside our brilliant staff team. Thanks, Martin.
Hey Matt, I'm not a dull person, but I'm going to ask a really dull question. But it's practical, and if people want to follow this, I think you need to know the practicalities. How, with the Charity Commission, how do you put your annual report on the Charity Commission's website? How does that happen?
Well, I mean, you'd imagine that the Charity Commission are at the forefront of the cutting edge of technology. Unfortunately not. So we produced this annual report and asked them if we could just submit a digital annual report, and got the reply no. You must submit the standard paper copy. Actually, at the bottom of the annual report, there's a link to that, so you can download that. But we just literally produced the most basic thing. We want people to come to the website to really see it come alive. Really, maybe in 25 years we might just be able to submit online.
I just want, hello. Anna, Chief Executive UK Youth. I just want to say massive congratulations, Matt. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
You'll know in charity sector how hard it is for innovation, so well done. And my question is, what's your biggest barrier to scaling further so you can make more improvements in that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that sport is incredibly powerful, and we could do a lot more with it. We just have to get the message out there, and I think that is about proof. And I'll come on to that in a moment, but I think really, we all know, anybody who's running a charity in this room knows that it's also about money. You've got to be able to find the money to be able to do stuff, and we've all managed to be more efficient, and we've had to be in the last few years, and Anna, you'll know from UK Youth, you've just had to drive the efficiency. So we're all at the point now, I think, where if you can put the efficiency with the impact, you can achieve amazing things, and that really is about going out and selling the message, and saying for us what sport can do to change lives. A couple of questions.
Hi, Rachel from New Philanthropy Capital.
Hi.
It's really inspiring seeing all of the work that you've done around transparency and all of the information about disengagement. I think it sets an amazing example for other organisations in the sector. I'm just wondering if you have any reflections, maybe from conversations that you've had with other chief execs, about what holds charities back from that sort of transparency, and what you think it would take to for a bit of a culture change in the sector.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think what you're seeing in terms of our impact dashboard and this annual report is only the icing on the cake of a very long journey that started with making sure that our data was accurate. Because I think when I joined in 2010, we were making very big statements that actually weren't true, and it was quite difficult as a chief exec coming in to stand behind those statements. So certainly 4 or 5 years ago, getting our staff to properly put in data into a database that meant nothing to them, and trying to sort of make sure that people could see the results of that instantly when it's coming up, and just trying to get this sort of, we were doing transparency internally for a long, long time to try and really get message. And then only when you've got that confidence can you actually stand up and say, you know, this is right. Because as soon as you say we're going to be transparent, there is no turning back from it. You know, you remember the board conversation in 2016, you know, when we came up with this idea to talk about what we didn't get right. You know, it is a risk and it's a danger, but it's one of those risks that I think is worth taking. The other thing I'd say is that I think funders have a role to play here. Whilst funders aren't asking for this stuff, people won't do it.
Hi there. I think this evening, I like your idea of the annual report digitally done. It's of necessity reflective over the past. I'm going to ask you a question about the future. In 10 years' time, what would you or your successor hope to be standing up here saying about your achievements in the next 10 years?
Wow, good question. Thanks for coming down, Duncan. yeah, that 10-year relationship. I think it's about the power of sport again. I think, you know, we've never really made the case for sport in this country. We've talked a good game. You know, sport has been always put up there as something that can do amazing things, and you saw that with the Olympics. You know, everybody's talking about the power of sport, and you know, 6 years on, has it made a big difference? There's this focus, I think, on events and sport, big events, and actually sport has the power to do incredible things. So I'd like to be up here in 10 years' time talking about the change that was made when we proved that sport was the thing that actually could engage these people and make this change, and that we could do it at scale so that it really matters. So it's not 1,656 young people, it's 20, 30,000 lives being changed. Okay, so on that, I just wanted to just finally show you the Impact Dashboard version 2, which we launched today. So I hope you've all maybe seen version 1. Sorry, we've got the wrong slide. This is back to the laptop. That's it. Perfect. So version 1 we launched this time last year, and we made the decision to try and put our impact online almost in real time. So we update this on a month-by-month basis rather than you having to wait a whole year to get our annual report. And then we got loads of feedback at the bottom of our form from people who either loved or hated our dashboard. And you can imagine it's quite interesting. Some people said it's far too complicated. Some people said it's far too simple. So, you know, we're trying to sort of get in the middle somewhere. And so Lindsay, her team, and I, we've all been working on version 2, which we launched today. And we tried to link this more to our theory of change. So you can see at the bottom here, this is the journey that we think young people take through Street League. And at the top, there are the key indicators, you know, the amount of people who started, those who disengaged, how many progressed into work, education and training, and then how many sustained jobs. And we just measure sustainment at 6 months about jobs, because that's the key. So just looking through, we've also linked as well in this one to government need. So this is the unemployment statistics, in this case for 16 to 24-year-olds. And you can see generally there's a decline in youth unemployment, which is fantastic, but what we're finding is those young people in the most need are still in the most need and still require support. These are barriers and starts, and you'll notice we've included BAME data for the first time, and you can filter all of this by England, Scotland, female, male, and then age groups as well for the first time. So you can start to get into more detail and really see how Street League is performing. This is disengagement, so you can see why did young people disengage, and the vast majority here we were unable to contact, which is really difficult for us, but we wanted to report that. And then these are the barriers that the young people reported when they came to us. So if on this you actually click on one of the segments, you can see which barriers were involved in an unstable personal life, and you can just look at all the different scenarios that young people are facing and why they might disengage. This is where young people progress to. So 1,358 going into work, education and training, and they're the types of outcomes and then the top employment sectors. And again, you can filter all of this by male, female, and England, Scotland. These are the outcomes we achieved last year on the pink line, and this year on the blue line. You can see generally they're a bit lower. This is because, as I said, youth unemployment is generally dropping. So we're working with slightly less people this year than we were last year, over the last 12 months. And then sustainment, we've got a 57% sustainment rate at 6 months. And again, you can filter that by all of the criteria above. And then finally, this is my favourite slide. This, I think, shows whether we are impactful or not. So you can see on the map, these are where our young people live, where Street League operates. And again, you can filter all of those. But the graph is the indices of multiple deprivation. So on the left-hand side there is the top 10% most deprived communities where we work. And you can see the majority of the young people, the blue line there, live in those top 10%. And then it comes down to the least deprived communities. But what's really interesting for me, is the lighter blue line is the number of outcomes, and the orange line is the number of sustainers. So actually, regardless of where you live, you have a really good chance of getting an outcome and sustaining an outcome. I think that's the powerful message of sport, and that's the powerful message of Street League. And it's really interesting to filter. So again, like the annual report, I'd really like you to go and share that, tell people about it. We wanted to show that you can make this transparency possible, and you can move forward. We just want to keep learning. So when others do the same, we want to learn from them and move forward. We don't think we've got it entirely right, and I'm sure the comments will be equally as divided on whether this is actually doing what it's supposed to do. So just in conclusion, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Fernando and to Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, to Anthony and his team, who've been fantastic supporters. I want to say a huge thank you to my team. This is entirely their work. It's been absolutely amazing, from Lindsay and her team as Director of Strategy and Impact, but also the finance team, and Leslie's here, who've pulled all the numbers together, the people who've put the events together, the marketing team. All of this has come together, to produce what is brilliant about tonight. And so all that remains for me to say is that we've booked a space in the pub across the road, in the Paternoster pub, I think that's right, across the street from 7 o'clock, and we'd love you to continue and join us. But in the meantime, just to say thank you for coming tonight, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.